It's the episode number 128 of the franchise. Is that right?
Welcome, everybody. You were damn close, man. Damn close. 127.
Oh, we're close. Okay, 127 of the franchise. Still covering the Ghostbusters. Busting makes me feel good. We're going to bust all over your fucking face today. And I'll tell you what. It's a river of slime.
It's a river of slime. Dan and me are on our own. Am I right?
What's that a reference to? Bobby Brown? Yeah. Sure. He knew all about busting people in the face. Huh?
We got some Run DMC going on, man.
Mm-hmm.
I had this soundtrack as a kid, the cassette.
Busters 2?
Yep. Had the cassette.
Yeah, they popped the Ray Parker Jr. joint back on there.
They did, but I don't recall that being on the soundtrack.
It was totally on the official release.
Are you sure?
Yes, I remember that.
Is that from looking it up?
Yes.
You looked it up, but that doesn't mean
I'm sorry. I didn't own it.
That's right.
Look at you putting your finger up. Excuse me. I purchased that at a Nobody Beats the Wiz franchise in 1989.
That's right. That's what Nobody Beat the Wiz. That's right. Yeah, I don't recall that being on the official soundtrack, but boy, it was loaded with some other stuff. Let me tell you that.
Loaded to the brim. What else did it have?
I mean, I remember exclusively listening to the Bobby Brown and the Run DMC, especially the Run DMC song, over and over and over. So I was probably hitting rewind a lot. Probably back in those days.
Oh, you had a cassette?
Huh?
You had a cassette?
Yeah.
Did you have to find exactly the right spot, or did you have one of those cassette players where it would find the pauses and skip to the beginning of the song?
I don't believe those existed when I or at least I didn't have one of those, never.
Did you have a Walkman, or are you talking about a boombox here?
I had both.
Okay.
Yes, but, for sure. But I definitely remember hearing the Run DMC many times. Something strange going on. Something's wrong.
They were experts at that. Just like they'd take an existing song and they would just like talk all over it. Like, Walk This Way. Yeah.
That's right. And we had we covered Run DMC before when we did
Christmas in Hollis.
That's right.
Yeah.
I had that vinyl.
You had the Die Hard vinyl?
No. I had Very Special Christmas. That's what it was.
That was the Run DMC Christmas album?
It was a mixture of all those terrible songs that came out, and it became like a series. Remember a Very Special
like now
Christmas?
That's what I call Christmas?
Exactly. But back in the 80s, there was a
it was like a little gold figure on the cover?
Yes.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's exactly what it was. And it had like that, that Santa Baby with Madonna and John Mellencamp. Terrible stuff. But they had Christmas in Hollis.
Did it have the Mariah Carey joint?
No, that hadn't happened yet.
Okay. This is that rarefied time when Run DMC was a thing, but Mariah Carey wasn't yet.
Exactly. It might have been the first one of those ever. It was. I just remember it was a red cover with that gold manger.
That's right. Yeah, and then they did a green one.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember it. Hey, let's talk about it. Ghostbusters 2. We're going to talk about Ghostbusters 2 today, directed by Ivan, more like Wrong Man for this one, am I right? And then we'll talk about the Ghostbusters lady version with the Paul Feig over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you want to start with 2?
I think that's the way it goes. Sure,
Ghostbusters 2. It's a movie I saw a billion times as a kid, to the point where, like, it wasn't even until I was a teenager that I was able to, like, differentiate the two Ghostbusters movies. And now I watch it, and it's, like, significantly worse than the original Ghostbusters movie, but I had them conflated in my mind for years.
They were never conflated in my mind just because of probably when I
saw... You were old
it.
enough when you saw Ghostbusters 2.
That's right. I saw this in the theater, too, I'm pretty sure. But... it never held up for me that much over the years, and I kind of flip-flopped between thinking it was okay to just being bad, and so I went into this. I hadn't seen it in a while, but I had seen it many times. But I was a little surprised at my reaction this time.
You liked it. You hated it.
It wasn't as bad as I remembered, but it's not very good.
I'm going to throw something out there with Ghostbusters 2. I think it's like, remember this, Henry? We covered Beverly Hills Cop 2 a couple months ago. Do you recall that?
I do remember. You remember that, Ed? I do indeed, yes.
And what we said about that movie was, it's not bad. It's not great. It's just sort of like, hey, we set out to make a Beverly Hills Cop sequel, and this is a Beverly Hills Cop sequel.
Yeah, you're right. Having said, that's actually a really good comparison, because like the first one's like a Stone Cold classic.
All this is we had a remit. None of us wanted to make a Ghostbusters sequel, but we were told to, and here it is. This is recognizably a Ghostbusters sequel. It's perfectly watchable. Enjoy it at will.
That's exactly right. Having said all that, I would say Beverly Hills Cop 2 is a significantly better movie.
I wouldn't say significantly, but it at least has the Tony Scott factor. Like Tony Scott is at least like putting some
he brings something
into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas Ghostbusters 2 is directed by the same guy that made the first one. So he's just sort of like, he's like, look, I gotta make this between Legal Eagles and Kindergarten Cop. Fine, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, well, I guess that's what they did. Legal Eagles. He had some time. It's a writing thing here. It's not a directing thing. The problem here.
You think the writing is the bigger problem?
Oh, in this, sure. I mean, Reitman's just doing what's written. I mean, there's nothing really. I mean, I noticed that actually, that I didn't think there was much wrong with the directing. I think it's the ideas. Some of which didn't bother me as much as I thought they were going to. When I knew they were coming.
Like what?
You're gonna scoff the shit out of me right now. It's still dumb.
Oh, but don't say the fucking Statue of Liberty. Don't you dare say it. It's the worst part of this movie by a mile.
The Statue of Liberty.
Oh, it is so fucking stupid. It's like hard to watch.
You think it's that? But yeah.
The fact that they're walking around in the Statue of Liberty playing some music out of the speakers. And like this is to like build up the morale of New York City. And they're just fucking stomping all over the city. And they're killing people.
Right. I think perhaps as a concept, the Statue of Liberty might have been a good idea. Like, hey, that would be really cool. We could get something to rival the visual impact of the Stay Puft Marshmallow.
Yeah, that's all it's doing.
But then they do it, and then there's like all these aside comments that they're all making. And
she's naked under here.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like, and oddly, to me, and we only said one sentence about this last week, which was good because we can talk about it today. The whole movie to me, and this didn't change. I always felt this. It's just overdone. Like it's the old concept of sequels, Henry. This isn't really a thing anymore because I feel like the golden age of television has taught movie studios that they should just treat movie franchises as serialized TV shows, basically. Yeah.
Whereas back then, like the going concern was always the sequel. It's gotta be bigger. It's gotta be better. It's gotta be more.
Right.
And so like it was just like, hey, remember that great Batman movie? It had one villain. You know what we gotta do for the sequel? 2 villains.
Very true. And then 3, and then 4. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
But in Ghostbusters 2, it goes down to even like the Ghostbusters themselves. Like they give Egon way more dialogue.
I'm okay with it. I'm gonna say it right here, Henry.
Ray Stantz more I don't know.
Ramis is my MVP.
Who is?
Ramis.
Okay. Mine's Bill Murray because I still
that's not
Huh? first of all, he gets a lot of the best lines, even though some of them aren't great. But his whole world of the psychic is the only real backstory I think is. I mean, Egon's introduction is pretty funny. I'll give you that when he's torturing couples and
That's
couple
great.
therapy.
That's a great
That's
scene.
really funny.
World of the
I didn't
Psychic
care-
is the best scene in the movie.
It absolutely is. And I went into the movie thinking that and kind of hoping that wouldn't be, because I knew it was right in the beginning, but it totally is. And I thought Ray's whole thing in the occult bookstore, it's just like too much. I don't. It's
Oh
like,
my God! You know what I could do without and a half, Henry?
What's that?
The fucking Ghostbusters at a kid's birthday party.
That is rough.
That's a wretched sequence.
That is really rough. And you know, one thing I got to tell you, man, I did not remember this, but you'd think after the first one, they would have given Winston more to do.
No, he's got nothing to do in
Holy
this movie.
God,
You're right. I had the same memory. I remembered Winston having more to do in the sequel, and it's like another case of like the three of them all working together, and then eventually they're like, I guess we should get Winston in on
I
this.
did not remember that at all, and I was just like, you know, the other three. We're getting backstories as to where they are and all that, and what the fuck? We don't get anything. Why not a little scene with Winston?
Because
Jesus, he gets more to do in the reboot.
He kind of does. He has a bigger
Christ.
role.
Yeah.
Henry, can I do the stats before we get too far into the movie?
Yeah.
All right, Ghostbusters 2. It's directed by Ivan Reitman. It's written again by Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd. And it came out June 16th, 1989. Big summer release, Henry.
Yes, sir.
All right. It's almost the same weekend. It's a week later, 5 years later after the first one. By the way, 5 years, Henry.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, anything about that? I mean, is it like an issue? Did you read anything
I do
about
think.
why it took so long?
3 years is the magic. It's because they didn't want to do it.
Nobody wanted to.
Nobody wanted to do it. Even Aykroyd, who's like obsessed with this concept, and later, like by the late 90s, was telling anybody who would listen that he wants to make another Ghostbusters movie. He did not want to make this movie. He said it was intended to be a standalone movie.
Yeah, interesting.
And so, you know, that's why it took so long. Murray was impossible to get back on board. You know, Reitman didn't want to do it. Nobody wants to do this thing.
I mean, that's a problem. I mean, holy Christ, you know, the other. Well, we'll get there. Well, I'll wait.
Okay. A budget of $37 million, a bit higher than the first one, but not astronomically so.
Right.
Big box office, of course, $215.4 million. It's another hit.
Huge.
Yeah, it's over here in the top 10 movies of 1989. And we haven't done the top 10 much. I have the list here. You want to take a few stabs at it?
Oh, because we did 89 when we had Jason Anthony Harris on, but we didn't do
but Nightmare on
box
Elm
office
Street
ones?
6 is not in the top 10.
Right. So we didn't do the top 10. Wow. Sure, I'll take a couple of stabs. All right. Is Lethal Weapon 2 in there?
Lethal Weapon 2 is in there. It's number 3 at the box office.
Wow, look at that. Is License to Kill in there?
No.
Really? I thought,
License to Kill killed the Bond franchise for like 5 years.
Well, there was a lot of rights things going on there. I didn't know it did that poorly at the box office, but Born on the 4th of July? That was kind of a big hit.
What are you talking about? Get out of here.
Batman.
That's the Oh, yeah. No, that is that year. It's number 1. Okay.
Number 1. That's right.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters 2, obviously.
Where's that? Where do you think that lands?
Well, if Batman was number 1 and this made $200-some million, this had to be, I'm going to say number 2.
No, it's number 7.
Okay. Christmas Vacation?
No.
Hey, go ahead.
All right.
I got a few.
Well, I think we've done this year because I remember this hint. Henry, number 10 is Oh Captain, My Captain.
Oh, God. Yeah.
That's right.
Fucking...
The Dead Poet Society.
Ugh.
All right. Number 9 is, Steve Martin's in it.
Steve Martin in 1989.
Yeah, what was he up to?
That is after Roxanne and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels?
It's Parenthood. Number 8 won Best Picture that year, I believe.
Of 1989, the
Yeah,
best picture of
I
1989.
believe so. Best movie around.
Oh, this is not good that I don't remember this. Best picture of 1989. Glory.
Nope, Driving Miss Daisy. Number 7 is Ghostbusters 2. Number 6, a big-time sequel that we've covered on the franchise.
Yeah, I've embarrassed myself enough. Continue.
Number 6, we've covered it. What is it?
Yeah.
Back to the Future Part 2. Number
Okay.
5, a movie I would love to cover on the franchise, featuring one of the prime cast members from the Ghostbusters.
That's radio silence. I don't know.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Number 4.
Jesus Christ.
Yep. Number 4, another baby movie. It's I once went to a theme park that had a little section where you
Look who's talking.
Yes, that's right.
Wow. Jesus. Fuck.
Number 3, Lethal Weapon 2. Number 2 is another movie we've covered on the franchise.
I hate you.
How about that? Big
Major
movie.
League.
Yeah, Major League. Right there after Batman. Are you high?
I don't know. I have no idea, man.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And number 1's Batman. All right, let's knock out this list, because this we did do recently.
We did.
Yeah.
I'll leave out my HMs.
Thank you. This is the 1989 list. Number 10, Henry.
Number 10 is Batman.
My number 10 is Poison.
What is that again?
Todd Haynes' first movie.
Right. Number 9 is The Big Picture.
Number 9 is Man in the Moon.
Number 8 is Major League.
My number 8 is Point Break.
My number 7 is Casualties of War.
My number 7 is Slacker.
My number 6 is Glory.
My number 6 is Trust.
That's right. This is your real art house here.
Yeah.
Like big time.
Except for Point Break.
My God. So, heavy hitters.
Oh.
These are the grand slams, the slap shots, the three-pointers, the touchdowns, the curling when the puck gets close to the circle. These are the heavy hitters of the franchise. Heavy hitter.
All right.
Born on the 4th of July.
That's a heavy hitter. You got to give it that. My
All
number 5 is Jungle Fever.
All right. Number 4, Crimes and Misdemeanors.
My number 4 is Barton Fink.
That's 1991, but
I'm
kudos
looking at
to
the
you for
wrong
putting
year,
it-
yo. This whole year has been the wrong year. Henry, I fucked
Okay,
up.
That's okay. Let's just do it. You are a piece of work, man.
All right, my number 10 is
Oh my God.
my number 10 is Heathers. My number 9 is Vampire's Kiss. My number 8 is Back to the Future Part 2. My number 7 is War of the Roses. My number 6 is Roger and Me. My number 5 is Drugstore Cowboy. My number 4 is Mystery Train. Go ahead.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry, gang.
That makes a lot more sense now. Jesus. Okay. All right. My number 3 is Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
Number 3 is Crimes and Misdemeanors.
Number 2 is Do the Right Thing.
My number 2 is Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
My number 1 is My Left Foot.
Right. My number 1 is, of course, Do the Right Thing. Henry, let's talk about it. The Ghostbusters 2.
I think Sigourney's having a nice time.
Yeah, I guess. But
I
she's
do.
got to hang around with this ugly baby the whole movie. This fucking baby is hideous.
cute baby.
Holy shit.
Really? You think it's an ugly baby?
It is one of the ugliest babies ever, and it's played by twins, and they're both ugly.
Well, she also has to hang out with Peter McNichol, so that couldn't have been that fun either.
Hey, Peter McNichol, I think is having a real nice time in this movie. I enjoyed watching Peter McNichol.
He's the fucking Bronson Pinchot character.
No, he's better.
You're fucking.
Peter
You're
McNichol.
high.
Peter McNichol's a good actor, and
I agree. I've seen him in other stuff,
and he is giving his all. He's doing what the movie's asking of him. He's all that's crazy. He's being asked to do in this movie is be the what is it called in fucking Dracula? You know Dracula's guy that like follows him around?
Yeah, like like Igor. You mean like a henchman? That's not Dracula, but I don't know what you mean.
Fucking Remsen? Is that a person?
Oh, yeah, something like that. Right.
I should know
Not
this.
Remsen. It's you're very close though. It's
What's Dracula's sidekick? Is that what I Google?
I never think of Dracula having a sidekick, but you're right.
Dracula's hypnotized guy.
I love when you came up with this and then you have to like stick by it, so you have to figure out what it was you
Who
meant.
is it?
Remington Steele.
We're annoying so many people right now.
I think so.
Yeah.
First the 10 movies of another year, and it's doing well.
Yeah, I'm nailing it. All right, anyway, that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
That's what he's being asked to do in this movie.
Okay.
And I think he does a fine job.
It's just too much. Like everything in the movie, it's just too much.
I mean, I agree, but it's what he's there doing the job in the movie. This is what the movie is.
This is right. So should I give the LVP more to the character then, Janos?
Janos. I like Janos.
I am actually very surprised. I thought for sure you would say he's one of the weakest parts.
I totally no. Because you know what the weakest thing is? Because you need a villain. I feel like Vigo should be better.
Yeah, or not even be the main villain.
Well, yes, it sort of handicaps the movie to have the main villain be a painting.
Yeah, like they
who
have
has no
the idea.
agency.
Right, like I feel like what I said earlier sort of stands. While it wouldn't be my first choice for a plot device, I think the slime that feeds on negative energy is kind of cool.
Good idea. I like the river of slime. It's a river of slime.
Yes, and the sewer scenes are cool. I don't even know that you needed a personification like an antagonist.
I didn't need. Well, you didn't really have it in the first movie, man. Like, you do get at the very end, but, like, for the most part, it's just sort of like you're looking into a fridge and shit. Like, you don't. You just need weirdness in these movies. You don't really need a central villain.
Yeah, you're right. And even at the end, the first movie is just kind of random ghosts, and they all just tie it together very beautifully at the end into one thing. In this movie, it's like right from the start, there's like a main guy that's the bad guy, and then all these other things that happen around it are sort of secondary.
For years, I thought this character Vigo was played by Michael York.
Really? I could see that.
Doesn't it look like him? I thought that for years. And I only found upon this watching of the movie what is actually going on with that actor.
Well, you recognize him from our first show, right?
What first show?
Our first podcast episode.
Oh, is like the guy who plays Vigo? But that's fine. But did you know that it's not him doing the voice?
I never knew that until this.
What the fuck is going on there? Max von Sydow?
Yeah, I was blown away. I found that out today, not even when I watched the movie, when I was doing my superhero count.
That was mind-blowing. Where'd you find that out?
When I was doing my superhero count.
On Wikipedia?
Yeah, and Max von Sydow came up as a cast character.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And I was like, yeah.
It's weird.
And now it makes sense, because now anytime I hear that, any lines uttered by that character, of course it's him. But they add so much echo and shit. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it is clearly
English,
him.
so.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So it takes place 5 years later, right?
As the title credits Tell us, yeah.
Sure. And it's sort of like a situation like Dark Knight Returns, where like the Ghostbusters have been away for a few years.
Yeah, they've hung up their proton packs. There hasn't been any activity. Unbelievably, it seems as though everybody who lived in New York forgot what they did for the city and that it even happened, including the mayor.
It is the most major thing that has ever happened in New York City. In the world, yeah.
Yeah.
It would have changed science for
Changed
good.
everything forever.
Yeah.
But, maybe we were all just partying too hard for a while in New York in 84 and you just chalk it up to Coke. Didn't really happen.
You think everyone was so coked out?
Yeah, and that's what the characters told themselves. They're like,
Yeah.
we didn't really see that Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Yeah. Sure.
And then everyone got sidetracked by the AIDS epidemic.
Right.
What? Did I brought up AIDS?
Yeah.
You want me to bring up something more depressing than AIDS? You familiar with this ugly baby?
Oh, poor baby.
Do you know what I'm about to tell you?
Oh, no. Oh, God. Oh, no. I didn't look. Oh, no. Okay. Lay it on me.
Just last year, Henry, the the actor who played the baby,
One of them.
yeah, he killed himself. Yeah, suicide by hanging.
Now, when he did that, did the other baby feel it in some kind of phantom?
Henry.
They're twins,
He released a statement.
Really?
The one baby.
I know.
Do you want to
I
hear
ain't
it?
afraid of no ghost.
Come on. Oh. Let me see if I can find it. Oscar is the kid's name.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, first of all, the kid was the nephew of John Denver. That's a fact.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Jesus.
he lost his battle with schizoaffective disorder. Many people do not know much about Hank. His name was Hank.
No.
Some knew him as Baby Oscar in Ghostbusters II or John Denver's nephew. Others knew him as a brother.
Get through it.
Others knew him as a brother, son, martial artist, teacher, uncle, or friend.
This might be the worst thing
He
that
experienced
we've ever done.
hallucinations, delusions, depressions, and mania. Okay? Hank was diagnosed in August of 2008. If you knew Hank before his diagnosis, you knew a young man who was upbeat, healthy, witty, kind, outgoing, and was always ready to stand up for people. Medication curbed the delusions, but it did not stop the voices. All right?
God. Jesus
He
Christ.
fought for his life every day, Henry. He tried everything. Homeopathic medicine, herbs, water fasting, acupuncture, aromatherapy, chakra cleansing, affirmations, magical bath salts, CBD oil, prayer, voodoo, magical spells, parasite cleanses, and more.
Is this a fucking eulogy or?
By the end, he had 25 voices, all with different personalities and opinions. All right? But mostly agreeing they did not like Hank.
I am utterly speechless. I have one voice in my head, and it's saying, "I wish you would have never brought this up."
He trained in multiple styles of martial arts. He earned his 3rd and 4th degree black belt in Kempo, bought his own condo, and found the love of his life. All right? Wow. Yeah.
This is welcome everybody to your weekly comedy show, the franchise. We're talking about Oscar the baby.
R.I.P. Henry J. Duchendorf the second. Schizoaffective disorder is a real bitch. It sounds like he had split disease, right? You know, like McAvoy.
I missed that last part. What was
He
it?
had split disease.
Split disease. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Shyamalan. Yeah.
Right. Shyamalan. Right.
Well, you don't have to do that. You know what his name is. You know how to pronounce his name.
Oh, you're right. That was in bad taste.
Yes,
Excuse
it was.
me.
That was racist, Henry. All right, you want to talk about Ghostbusters?
I don't want to talk about anything right now, man. Oh, Jesus Christ.
All right, so
Yeah. Good luck. Uh-huh.
so Sigourney Weaver has a baby. So what happened? She and Venkman broke up, and she had a baby with another guy in these 5 years,
she married a
and
musician
now they're divorced.
Right.
Henry, why is she? She was like a world-renowned Philharmonic trained like cellist.
Yeah.
What's she doing restoring art in a museum in this movie?
I
why is art being restored in a museum?
By amateur people?
Yeah.
I think that she's one of those people that is like probably so fucking wealthy that like in her spare time she has the pull and connections to like work on, decaying works of art. And,
you mean
clean them.
Dana? Whatever.
Yeah.
Dana. What's her
Dana
last name?
Barrett.
Dana Barrett. But
Right.
that doesn't match. She doesn't have like a big apartment or anything.
Well, I mean, it looks like she lives on the Upper East Side, so it's probably pretty nice, I would imagine.
Over there by
Not
Hunter
as nice as
College.
that place that was ruined by Zool, but because that was a nice pad,
Henry,
But
did you know that that's actually in Chicago, and it's a lot smaller than it looks?
it's very funny. It's a good joke.
That was
That's
great.
cool.
That was one of your best anecdotes.
That's a throwback joke to something I found interesting to point out to people. Chicago. Did you just come up with Chicago of all cities?
I thought it was. Where was it?
Should have been like Des Moines.
No, where was it actually?
Lost you again.
Where was it, Henry? Where was that building?
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, right? Okay.
Is. Not was.
Yeah, you could go see it, gang. Check it out.
Next time you come visit me, Dano, I'll take you out there.
I'm good. Henry, Rick Moranis is back. He's now romancing Janine.
Yeah, he's given a lot to do. Oh, okay, wait, the courtroom sequence.
Oh, I love that sequence. Honestly,
That was good.
possible. I was possible MVP of this movie is Harris Yulin.
Yulin?
I fucking love Harris Yulin in this movie.
Harris Yulin's great. You'd really like him in that show that you haven't heard about, but it's called Ozark. He's real good in that.
Oh, is he in that?
Uh-huh.
He's also, of course, the head of the Watchers Council on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh.
Yeah.
He was a fun one to go through for a superhero credit because he's only been in 38,000 things.
The Scolari brothers.
It's pretty good.
He talks out of the side of his mouth. I love him.
And you know who the Kitten was, right? The attorney for the other side?
I didn't even notice.
You didn't?
No.
That is Janet Margolin, one of Woody Allen's early paramours. And
What?
Yeah. She was in Take
The Money and Run, I assume, is the end of that sentence. Oh, it's going well. It's going well.
Yes. Oh, Lord. God. Yes, and she was in one of the flashback sequences in Annie Hall.
Was she the crab?
In Annie Hall?
Yeah.
I think you mean lobster, but
Right.
No, she's the one who says the line about why would you want to watch a pituitary cases, and she's taking Alvy Singer through the party and saying there's a doctorate in this and that and this and that. Yeah. Anyway, you don't remember. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I basically do. You're breaking up a lot, I gotta say, gang. We're not having a good connection. I'm in a new apartment here. We're working with Henry in a garage. We're trying our best here.
We're doing our best.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, and she died of ovarian cancer 5 years after this movie.
Oh, Henry, why do you have to bring things down like that?
I know. I don't know why I would do that. It's a habit of mine.
Oh,
Really sorry about that.
You're so depressing.
Yeah, I am. I just bring up the wrong things. Yeah, good scene though. Bill Murray's got some great lines. It's a decent kickoff to their return. A lot with Louis Tully. He's
a lawyer now.
A lawyer too, a tax lawyer.
You know what it's like? It's like Joe Pesci in the Lethal Weapon franchise. Like, we're just looking for excuses to bring this guy back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
Remember when, like, Joe Pesci in, like, the third one, was just, like, Danny Glover's real estate broker or something?
It's, like, too much. It's like a great a great character for Lethal Weapon 2. Let's just leave him out of the rest, and then we bring him back and make him. It's not. Nah.
I did like. I thought Annie Potts had some fun stuff to do in this movie.
I mean,
I like her in her red wig. I also might be a little bit biased because I remember as a kid, as a little boy, thinking she was very sexy in this movie.
Yeah, agreed there. Yeah, for sure. And they have that bizarre love scene.
And you know what this movie's a little bit like, Henry?
What?
It's closer to the real Ghostbusters cartoon.
I thought of that too.
Yeah.
Because
Egon is a little more like that. Slimer is ever present. Janine is doing more, and she's wearing that wig, which which is kind of how she looked in the cartoon.
Yeah.
Was Louis Tully not in the cartoon?
I don't think he was.
Interesting. That's an interesting choice.
That's off the top of my head, but I think he was not. No. I'm surprised they gave Winston a role in the cartoon.
Well, I feel like Winston was like he actually had stuff to do in the cartoon because he's one of the Ghostbusters, so it stands to reason that he might have stuff to do.
I would think so.
You know what's weird about this movie?
What?
So for the marketing of this movie, they did an updated version of the Ghostbusters logo, Henry.
Right.
Where the little Stay Puft guy, he's given like or I guess he's just a little ghost, right? He's not supposed to be the Stay Puft.
He's not the Stay Puft.
He's given a peace sign or a number 2 for Ghostbusters 2. Now, I remembered that being on the marketing materials of the movie. What I did not remember is it is now painted on the Ectomobile and it's on all of their jumpsuits.
I got to tell you right now, I did not notice that.
Why would they be walking around with a sequel logo all over their shit?
Are you? Wow. I mean, I'm not going to say, are you sure? Obviously, you're sure. You would never I did not see that.
Yeah. It's right there, buddy. Hey, Henry, did you catch noted director Jason Reitman at the beginning of the movie?
Not till I read about it afterwards.
I noticed it. I recognized him.
Come on, really?
Yeah, he's like 13 or something. He's already looking like himself.
You know what? I probably couldn't pick Jason Reitman out of a lineup, so I really have no idea. Never know.
I'm looking at him. Hey, buddy, you got some Diablo Cody scripts in your future.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Has Jason Reitman at this point in his career made more good movies than Ivan Reitman?
Ooh.
I feel like it's got to be close.
Ooh, it's got to be close, sure.
Okay.
I mean,
Ivan's got Ghostbusters, Caddyshack, I guess Meatballs,
Stripes.
That's 4. Do we want to give him Dave?
I do. Sure.
Okay.
So 5?
Something like that.
All right, let's give him 5.
Does Jason have 5?
What's he got?
He's got Thank You for Smoking, Young Adult, Tully, Up in the Air, and Juno.
Ooh.
Which I know you don't like, but that'll be
like
the. I feel like that's going to be the Dave of this system.
It very well might be. Very well might be. I did not like Up in the Air.
You didn't like Up in the Air at all?
No, I saw it in the theater, man.
Yeah, I did too.
I thought it was pretty disappointing.
Oh, sorry, buddy.
I didn't find it funny at all.
It's a dramedy.
Whatever, didn't work. I
think he's a better filmmaker than his dad.
Well, he might be a better film. I don't know. I gotta give Jason some more time.
I've never seen. There's a couple of his that really got torn apart. Like The Cobbler, that was one, right?
Oh yeah.
And Labor Day was one.
Was Labor Day the serious one with Kate Winslet?
Yeah, and Josh Brolin was in there.
I saw that.
How was that?
Very forgettable and mediocre. I just remembered seeing it because I was, in love with Kate Winslet. But
sure.
Yeah, not that good.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's he's in this movie. He's at the birthday party.
Yeah.
And Catherine Reitman, the sister, was in there too.
Jesus.
Not at the birthday party, but she was one of the kids Egon was torturing. I love that fucking Egon sequence, man.
It's pretty funny.
Harold Ramis does have more lines in this movie, and I'm kind of into it.
I
like Egon in this movie.
Well, he's certainly more fleshed out. I mean, I guess it works for him. For me, his fleshing out works better than Ray's. I just think Aykroyd.
I don't know what they're doing with Aykroyd in this movie.
Yeah, it's just too much, and
the thing with Egon is they decide his character trait now because it's a sitcom now. Everyone gets one character trait, and Venkman, he's snarky. Right. And Winston is black, and what they decide Egon is going to be is sort of laconic.
Yeah, you're right.
And
laconic,
sort of taciturn.
Yeah. I mean, I would have said he's the science geek, just the geek, the nerd. But maybe that's
Ray. But there's something more to it where he doesn't react normally to stuff.
That's true.
He's always just very in his head and rational and
even keeled.
Yeah. And I think Harold Ramis handles that really well. I said this last week. I think Harold Ramis is a really good comedic performer, and I like that he gets more to do in this movie.
I agree. I remember one of the things about Harold Ramis, I didn't say this last week, was that I saw, obviously, Ghostbusters, at a very young age, and I did not see Stripes till I was a teenager. So Harold Ramis to me was simply a director and Egon. And so when I saw him in Stripes playing a Bill Murray type character, it was extremely jarring for me. I did not know he could play that type of role.
He's a legit really second lead in that movie.
He is, and he's not a nerdy guy or anything like that.
No, he's the Stephen Baldwin to Bill Murray's Pauly Shore.
That's what I was going to say.
Sure. Or the Sean William Scott to Bill Murray's, Ashton Kutcher.
Right.
That guy died recently. R.I.P. Danny Liner, the director of Dude, Where's My Car?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that was a bummer.
Let's not give him as much time as we did to Hank Deutschendorf.
Come on.
Or Janet Margolin.
I still don't know who that is. All right, what else you got? There's a river of slime. It's making New York more sort of angry. There's a lot of those shots of people in New York going I'm walking here.
Yeah, that was real bad. That's in the very beginning.
Yeah, because it's trying to set up that New York's an angry place. And
you know what it reminded me of?
What?
Almost exactly the opening of
Weekend at Bernie's.
3.
Oh, okay.
Remember in Superman 3, everybody's just yelling at each other because everyone's angry with each other, and so it's a city of hate.
Well, vaguely. I said Weekend at Bernie's because remember the setup in Weekend at Bernie's was that look how shitty the city is, and that's what sort of made it rational that they wanted to get the fuck over to the beach so bad.
Okay.
and
Sure.
stay there.
Yeah. Right. Cadavers and all.
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like whereas the first movie was a New York movie, the second movie is trying to be a New York movie.
Yeah, you're
and
right.
it's a bummer, man. Because I mean, it ends with them walking with the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, and it's got lines in it that are just so self-referential that are unnecessary, like the mayor saying, this is New York City. Every goddamn given right of every New Yorker to be miserable and treat people like dirt.
I love this town.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we're really shitting on the movie, but
it's because it's a mostly bad movie, and I'm gonna give it a 3. But
I am too.
But it's just because it's a nothing movie. It's like, hey, if you've seen Ghostbusters a million times and you really want to watch another movie with these characters, you're in luck. One exists.
That's true, but I did laugh out loud a few times.
Sure, mostly towards the beginning. I love World of Psychic. I love Egon's experiment there.
And then here and there, there's some very
Take away the kitten.
Very good one-liners of Bill Murray are very good.
There's a couple, but Bill Murray is so separate in this movie. Is like hanging out in the Dana Barrett storyline, and he is asked to play opposite a baby time and time again, and I do not need it.
Yeah. No, correct. Yeah,
and it's not even a cute baby.
What do you think of the baby?
I think the baby should just end it all. I was hoping it would fall off that building. Yo, Peter McNichol sort of does a Freddy in that scene. One of those Freddy in the stars. Yeah. And then they end up at the there's that big standoff in the museum, and Rick Moranis gets to be a Ghostbuster.
Yeah, it's very labor intensive. This film, it's very labored.
It's throwing a lot at you.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a kitchen sink fucking adventure here. I guess just maybe somewhat redeemed by getting to watch these. I'd say 4, but 3 guys do their thing, and it for the moments that they have together, it's nice. But
sure, and it's got some nice supporting performances. Harris Yulin is great.
Yeah,
I think Kurt Fuller is a very viable William Atherton analog.
Totally.
Yeah,
yeah, he always is.
Yeah, he's great, that Kurt Fuller, and I mean, who else was in this movie? I liked Peter McNichol. Sorry.
Yeah, I wasn't too into that.
The scene where they're digging is good, where Egon and Bill Murray are pretending to be like construction workers.
Oh yes, I did like that.
That scene's nice.
And that also has like another shame about this film is that like in that scene, like the big lines are very staged and choreographed, but like the throwaway lines are funnier. Like even when Egon is by himself drilling, and then Bill Murray and Aykroyd run over and go, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And Egon just goes, "What have I been doing? I'll be getting a coffee for half an hour."
Yeah, yeah. You're right. It's too much. It's too plotty. There are too many special effects. There's too much slime. Too many ghosts. It's too cutesy by half, and all the fun stuff in this movie is sort of happening around the edges of the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I agree. I mean, now having said all that,
you know what I loved as a kid and cannot watch now?
Ooh, what?
The scene where the slime dances.
Oh, in the toaster?
Yes.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. I mean, at a certain point, I was watching that sequence going, I got a little pang of sadness where I was just thinking, God, these guys are all in the room together, and this is what we have them do.
Yeah.
Look at a fucking toaster, Yeah. They could have had like an Avengers type sequence there. And no, we're going to use a fucking toaster. Yeah. Now, having said all this, I, always regarded this movie as pretty mediocre. I still do. But for some reason, I have watched this movie multiple times. I don't know
Of course you
why.
have, because there's only 2 of them. So if you watch
guess
the
you're
first
right.
Ghostbusters movie, you're anxious for more, and so you watch the second one. I've done the same thing.
Yeah, that must be the reason. Like maybe if there were like 3, I would.
And you bang it out. It's like
Yeah, it's short.
It's pretty short. It's got a couple good moments. They're all in it. That's
Right.
honestly, like that's what the heights this movie reaches for. Is it a Ghostbusters movie? Are they all in it? All right, it's successful.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a 3. My MVP's Ramus, and LVP is God. Aykroyd. Aykroyd kind of sucks in this movie.
I agree, and I was actually gonna give him mine when I first started thinking about it, and then I went to McNichol. But I mean, Aykroyd is really annoying in this movie. He's just too overdone. So
Yeah, I don't really know what's going on with him. He's
I
so
don't
good
know.
in the first one.
he's great in the first one.
I
think
like him in other stuff. It's not like there's like a certain point where Aykroyd started
No,
sucking.
I agree. I think he's just kind of given too much to do in this movie. Like,
well,
and they should have
given by himself.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. And and maybe should have given Winston some more shit.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I'll give him my LVP because that was honestly who I was going to go with. But I thought I would be better served to go with. Aykroyd's the bolder choice. I'll go with Aykroyd.
Okay.
Plus, he co-wrote this mess. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Bill Murray gets my MVP, 3 stars.
They should have. Harold Ramis should have directed this.
Well, that would have been cool. I mean, that would also have been a different touch, which clearly it needed.
Why?
Because Reitman, maybe do the Beverly Hills Cop thing where you switch it up on
Well,
the
that's
director.
what I definitely think it shouldn't be Reitman. That doesn't make sense to me. And so I just think Harold Ramis at this point was like a top flight director. Why? He should just do it.
I know. I agree. I don't know, man.
All right.
I have a little superhero issue here.
I'd love to hear it.
Peter McNichol was in.
Ally McBeal, I know.
That's right. Yeah, I saw that. He played some major villains in a few cartoons. The Batman, he played Kirk Langstrom, otherwise known as Man-Bat. Remember the Man-Bat?
Yeah, I remember the Man-Bat. He's a bat guy.
That's right. He's the opposite of Batman.
Was he ever Mixter Maxiplac? I bet he'd be good at that.
No, but I think you're right. It would be. In Justice League Unlimited, he played Kronos.
That's a time guy.
Yeah. That's all I know about it.
Yeah.
I said, oh, Kronos must have to do with turning back time.
Sure.
Spectacular Spider-Man, he played Doc Ock.
That's a big one. He'd probably be good at that.
And in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., live action Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he plays Professor Randolph.
Probably like a mad scientist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Harris Yulin. I did find
Yes,
one.
he was the head of the Watchers Council in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a major superhero.
That's right. He was also in one episode of the Linda Carter Wonder Woman series. That's right. He played the unforgettable character of Mark Bremer.
Mark? Hey, he had a last name.
He did. They didn't just give him Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for you, all right, next is Kurt Fuller. He was also in The Batman, playing a character called Superior, whom I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know who that is either.
And I did this for you, would have omitted it otherwise. He was also in The Tick, playing Destroyo.
All right. Well, that sounds like a Tick character. What's Kurt Fuller from, though? Like, what's the...
Oh, man, I know. A lot.
But I
He's
mean,
just
I
one of
feel
the-
like he's in one of my, like, top favorite TV shows of all time.
Very possible, dude. I don't know. I mean, he's almost like a Steven Tobolowsky. He's in so much stuff. I mean...
Yeah.
I'll leave that one to you. I got 3 more here.
I'd love to hear them.
I knew you would. Brian Doyle Murray, who was in this.
Yeah,
Bill Murray's brother.
he's in one scene and he is given not a single comedy moment to play. It's like a weirdly serious performance.
Still funny. I love Brian Doyle Murray. He was a character in the Justice League cartoon called Artie Bauman, who could forget. And he was also in Lois and Clark, The Adventures of Superman, Harlan Black.
Harlan Black. I'll tell you what I was thinking of, Henry, with Kurt Fuller. He played Carl Rove on That's My Bush, the George W. Bush sitcom by Trey
Christ.
Parker and Matt Stone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. Last two, Ben Stein. Who did you notice had a little...
That guy's a piece of shit.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. He was also in Lois and Clark, playing, quote, pro lawyer.
Fine.
Yep.
He was
And
everywhere in the 90s. He was just
dude.
riding out that
Sure
fucking
was.
Ferris Bueller
Man
thing.
Show. Yeah.
Not the Man Show. He was on
Yeah,
Win
right,
Ben
right.
Stein's
Well,
Money.
right. Sorry.
Yeah, which I used to
My,
watch the shit out of.
Yeah, I did too, actually.
Got your Jimmy Kimmel projects confused.
Yeah, exactly. I totally
Yeah.
did. Yeah. And last but not least, Max von Sydow, who we've covered before, was in Conan the Barbarian playing King Osric.
Oh, that's a good poll.
Yeah, thank you. And in the Stallone Judge Dredd, played Judge Fargo.
Yeah?
Uh-huh.
Judge Fargo, huh?
Judge Fargo,
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Was there a Judge Fink and a Judge Miller?
All right.
All right. Henry, let's
Yes, sir.
talk about it. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. Ghostbusters.
It's true.
You've
So
never seen it.
Never saw it.
All right.
First viewing.
It came out during a time when I was not going to theaters.
That's right.
But I absolutely was excited to get it on Netflix, which I did,
Okay.
and watched on DVD when it came out. And didn't think much of it, but I was excited to rewatch it as a sober man and with a greater appreciation of a couple of the actors, and we'll see what happened.
We'll see what happened.
All right, so it comes to us from director Paul Feig.
Yes.
Now, Paul Feig, of course, is a fella I was a really major fan of for a long time.
Sure.
He co-created Freaks and Geeks,
Love it.
and my favorite thing he ever did, actually, other than Freaks and Geeks, is he wrote 2 memoirs.
Oh.
Yeah, one of them's called Kick Me, and the other one's called Super Stud. And they like sort of document his childhood and high school years.
That sounds cool.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
really great. And then but sort of what happened was, like, he was sort of bombing around as a TV director for a while. And then around the time Apatow was, like, the hot shit in Hollywood, he gave Paul Feig a directing gig, let him direct Bridesmaids.
That's what happened with that. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
and Bridesmaids was like such a big hit that it sort of catapulted Paul Feig into the realm of major directors. Now, Feig had directed 2 movies before Bridesmaids, but nobody remembers they exist.
What are they?
He had made a drama that he wrote and directed called I Am David with Jim Caviezel.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't see it, but yeah, I've heard of it. Yep.
And then he directed a kids movie, which I've seen, in like 2006. It has Louis Black in it in the adult role, and it's these kids running around airport. That's the whole movie. It's called Unaccompanied Minors.
It sounds like I've heard of it. But
Yeah,
okay.
it's a Christmas movie. It's pretty decent, but like
All right.
Paul Feig is not a guy with much directing talent, I don't think. I think he's an okay director, and I think with the right material, he can catapult that material, which he did with Bridesmaids. And he followed up Bridesmaids with The Heat,
Love it.
Which, yeah, I know. I'm not a fan of that movie.
And I'm not really a fan of Bridesmaids, which is definitely a minority opinion.
I'm not a huge fan. I think Bridesmaids at the time was sort of overrated. I think it was a very, very welcome movie because it had been a while since there was like a big comedy like that starring women.
Sure. Yeah.
So there was a place for it, and there was clearly an audience for it, and I'm glad it found that audience. And at the time, I was so happy for Paul Feig.
Right.
Because he was like the Freaks and Geeks guy, and he was like floundering for years in Hollywood. There's 10 years between Freaks and Geeks and Bridesmaids.
Yeah, that's right. Wow.
Yeah, he directed a few episodes of Arrested Development, a few episodes of The Office, whatever.
So he didn't really flounder.
He was sort of like he wasn't doing anything. Like he created. He only directed like 1 or 2 episodes of Freaks and Geeks. He was more like the creative force.
Sure. Yeah.
And he hadn't written anything in forever.
Yeah.
And even Bridesmaids he didn't write. It was Kristen Wiig and her writing partner. What's her name? Fuck.
I have no idea.
Yeah, whatever. She's in This Is 40. She's very funny.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So he did that, and then didn't he direct the Spy after The Heat?
That is atrocious.
It's really bad.
I saw that in theaters. Do not ask me why. That is not a movie like
you
that I
loved
would
The
normally
Heat.
see. Is that why I went to see it?
Maybe.
I didn't see it because I'm some huge Melissa McCarthy fan. It might have been that. It might have been completely just a Paul Feig thing where I was like, okay, let's see this.
That's why I saw it. And I liked all the parts with Jason Statham.
I did not.
And I didn't like it.
That was a 1-star movie for me.
No, it was better than that.
I hated it. Hated it.
Okay. So he followed that up with Ghostbusters. And unfortunately, Ghostbusters really hurt his career.
Yeah.
It was a big swing. It was a lot of trust that studio put into him for this movie. And, like, it was divisive, to say the least. Because,
before it even came out.
The people, but fuck the people who gave this movie shit before it came out. Because it's not an inherently bad idea for a movie by any means.
Of course it's not.
But, you know, it was divisive when it came out. There were certain people that were sort of very excited that it was divisive, but, like, whatever.
Right.
And it didn't do very well.
What did it make?
Okay, so it came out July 15th, 2016. And Paul Feig, not only did he direct it, he co-wrote this one with Katie Dippold, who was a TV writer. She's, good TV writer. She had written for Parks and Rec for a long time.
Okay.
And I think she co-wrote The Heat. Am I wrong about that?
What did she co-write?
I'm looking it up. The Heat.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, so they had worked before together. Wow. So they wrote this together, and it was released July 15th, 2016, on a budget of $144 million.
Ooh.
Okay? It was big. They were talking... Everyone was signed on for 2 sequels.
Yeah, I read that.
This was around the time, like, it was only 2 years ago, so, like, Marvel was really big, and DC was starting to get off the ground, and they were thinking Ghostbusters universe.
Yeah.
Cinematic U.
Yeah. GCU.
Yeah, GCU. I mean, this was, like, a big franchise that just had... It always was around. People were always talking about Ghostbusters sequels, and they never got one off the ground. So in 1999, Dan Aykroyd wrote a Ghostbusters sequel that never got made.
Right.
It was called Ghostbusters 3 Hellbent, and that script was floating around forever.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going to... Bill Murray refused to do it. He said he'd only come back if he could be a ghost.
Yeah.
And so they were going to replace Bill Murray for a while with like a young Ghostbuster, and that was going to be Ben Stiller.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah. And then they rewrote it, and they retitled it Ghostbusters in Hell. I don't know what Dan Aykroyd's thing was where he wanted the word hell to be in the title of a fucking Ghostbusters movie.
Because he was going to, that was the chapter he was on in his book of the occult.
Yeah. He was super into hell at the time.
Yeah, right.
So Murray was going to return as a ghost, and then Ramis had directed Year One, which turned out to be his last movie.
Yeah.
Which was garbage. And he
Yeah,
was working with these writers, Lee Eisenberg and Gene Stupnitsky, who had
Okay.
written for The Office. They were big
I was just gonna say
Office
I knew
guys.
those names.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They wrote a script, and Harold Ramis was thinking about directing it, and then Harold Ramis died.
Ugh,
And so
yeah.
they shit-canned that script, and that brings us to the Paul Feig story. Okay?
Oh, all right. Okay. A
Yeah.
long journey to this.
A long journey to this
Yeah.
movie, and so there were people were interested in it, and I guess the movie that eventually came out was not something that people wanted to see. They wanted the original Ghostbusters.
Well,
There were also always Ghostbusters cartoons. Henry, I know you watched real Ghostbusters, but did you ever watch Extreme Ghostbusters?
I heard about it.
I watched it.
Really?
I watched every episode of it. I remember it had a Latino Ghostbuster named Eduardo, and it had a Ghostbuster in a wheelchair. And I think
is
there was like a
extreme.
punk girl, like an Asian punk girl, I want to say.
Jesus.
I could be wrong
Wow.
about that one.
I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, I
Okay.
watched the shit out of that.
Wow. Well,
Anyway.
I have a major point to make about it, but I feel like it's got to wait. So I'm going to make a note about it. And I don't want to say it yet
Okay.
because we didn't even get into the movie yet.
Yeah, so the only place this movie was successful was the Kids' Choice Awards, where it won favorite movie. How about that?
Oh, okay. Good for it.
Why? It's not really a kids' movie.
No, it
Did the
isn't.
studio pay for them to win best movie at the Kids' Choice Awards?
If they could afford to pay them with anything left, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, did I say the budget in the box office?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So
No, I'm sorry. You said the budget. You
the
didn't
budget
say
was $144 million. They had all the money in the fucking world.
Right.
It ended up making worldwide 128.3.
Oh my god.
So this movie was in the red before you even
Wow.
count marketing costs, of which there was a lot.
I did not see that statistic. Oh my god. That's almost just upsetting.
Yeah. It came in at number 21 for the year, and it was slightly below Kung Fu Panda 3 and slightly above that movie. It was right around that movie Central Intelligence with The Rock and Kevin Hart. But of course,
right.
that movie probably cost $120 million less than this one did.
Yeah, right. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is really, in terms of what we've covered on this show, probably in our top. I mean, we've done like over 200 movies, but probably in the top 10 of like most anticipated and biggest disappointment, like box office
This
wise.
was a bad flop for the studio.
Yeah.
They lost money on this, and I think it sort of came and went. There was no talk of a sequel. It didn't do well. I think there are some people that regard it as sort of like an underrated minor classic, but you don't hear it. It's funny. It's a movie that was talked about fucking constantly when it was such a major movie in the public conversation about movies, and no one talks about it anymore.
It's true. It's true. And it wasn't even one of those movies that made such an impact where if you're having a discussion and you say, just Bill Murray, or what? Not Bill Murray. You'd say like, one of the greatest, funniest comedies of all time, Ghostbusters, the original one, not the remake. You don't have to say that.
And Paul Feig directed a movie that came out a couple months ago, Henry, and his name was nowhere to be found in the marketing.
Is that right?
Yeah, which is crazy. They should at least say like from the guy who brought you Bridesmaids or whatever. But like it was just not at all. They were like, we don't want people to know Paul Feig directed this.
Jesus Christ. What movie was this?
That was A Simple Favor, which I saw in theaters and kind of enjoyed.
Okay.
That was a very different kind of movie for Paul Feig, a much, much smaller movie, Henry.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I guess so.
That was with Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And the Asian guy from Crazy Rich Asians. Wait, that doesn't narrow it down. The the
racist.
main guy.
It's racist.
It's not. I saw Crazy Rich Asians in theaters.
That's racist.
I'm
to
not
say-
racist.
say
I
that
saw
you saw
Crazy
Crazy
Rich
Rich Asians in the
Asians.
theater. I don't know why. Just because they like to go to movies doesn't mean they're crazy and rich. Oh, the movie Crazy Rich
Yep,
Asians.
it
I
was
got you.
enjoyable.
Got you.
Henry,
Yeah.
what'd you think? Well, no, let's do our 2016 list.
Yeah, we haven't done this list in
Yeah, I redid the whole thing.
quite a while. Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I did not. All right. All right. Number 10.
You have any honorables? I have a few.
No, I don't. Go ahead.
Can I just say movies I really genuinely considered and didn't quite make it on the list are Tickled, the great documentary that I would recommend to
I
anybody.
watched that on your recommendation, and it was one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever seen in my life.
Isn't it great though?
It's so disturbing. I mean, it's well done, but yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. You
Freak
never
show.
told me you watched that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I forgot. You had mentioned. I watched it shortly after you told me to. It was a long time ago now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Here we go. The Shallows, which is a really great movie, great shark movie. 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I enjoyed. Arrival's good. Don't Breathe, great horror movie. How about this one? Sully, underrated.
I liked Sully.
Yeah. Captain America Civil War, and a movie that used to be on my list, and I knocked it off. Sorry, gang. Even though I'm excited for the next Yorgos Lanthimos film, The Lobster, no longer on my list.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. You had a lot of good movies in that HM list. That was
It's a good year.
Interesting. It was a good year. I didn't have any. I didn't redo the list, so because I didn't do it. You know, it's
All right,
very
what's your number
recent.
10?
Captain America: Civil War.
Love it. Mine is Patterson, Jim Jarmusch.
You're right. Never saw it. Number 9, Fences.
Right. My number 9 is Nocturnal Animals.
Too low. Number 8, The Lobster in its rightful place on a
All
top
right.
10 list.
My number 8 is Everybody Wants Some.
Didn't see it. Number 7 is 10 Cloverfield Lane.
My number 7 is a list edition, and that is Paul Verhoeven's L.
What was the movie? I'm sorry.
L, the Isabelle Huppert Paul Verhoeven collab.
Is that 2016?
Sure is.
Ooh. Oh, you know what? I saw that way after I made this list. Yeah, that's
Okay.
a hell of a movie. Hell of a movie. All right, number
6.
What did I? 6. I say this every time, but it's few and far between that I can, so I'll say it again. Probably the best adaptation of a Philip Roth novel,
Right.
Indignation.
Okay, my number 6, my favorite comedy of the last few years, and that is Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping.
Yeah, I need to see that. I'll do an abridged heavy hitters because my list is actually on my phone. I don't want to say.
We can just skip it all together.
Heavy hitters.
Oh, good one. These are the Grand Slams. That's not
There you go.
Okay, go ahead.
That's good. Hell or High Water.
It's a heavy hitter, as is mine, Manchester
Really?
by the Sea.
Oh, I thought you just said as is mine.
Yeah, mine's also a heavy hitter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, didn't make my list.
Really?
I liked Manchester by the Sea, but I didn't go nuts over it like a lot of other people.
You don't like Kenneth you don't appreciate Kenneth Lonergan
I love
enough.
Kenneth Lonergan.
Do you have a single Kenneth Lonergan movie on a top 10 list?
No,
You don't,
know.
and that's a problem for me.
Margaret, you can count on me.
Yeah, they're all great.
They are all great. I don't know if they're on my top 10 list, but they should be. Maybe I need some reevaluations. I don't know.
Maybe.
I think he's great. Okay, number 4, OJ, Made in America.
Yeah, good movie. My number 4 is Moonlight.
All right. My number 3, I know this shit ain't on your list, but I stick by my guy. The great movie, Silence.
Yes. I like the baby head. I've got the baby head in this movie.
The baby head is not good, but you make other people in the movie they're good. You know, it's a nice movie. You know who liked the movie? Jason Anthony Harris liked the movie Silencio.
Oh, hey, Jason Anthony out there. You like spending your life for the 3 hours with a baby head? Okay.
Spider-Man.
Number number 3 is Hell or High Water.
All right. Number 2 is I Am Not Your Negro.
My number 2 is American Honey.
Right. We have quite divergent lists. I don't think we have a single thing on here.
Oh, and you nailed it. My number 1 is Divergent.
No, we've got like 2 or 3. All right. The number 1 movie of 2016, which I really want to see again. I've only seen it the once.
Nocturnal Animals?
That's right.
All right. My number 1 is OJ, Made in America.
That's right.
All right. Henry, let's talk about it.
The juice.
The Ghostbusters. I think it's been rebranded on DVD. It's called Ghostbusters Answer the Call.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that.
I don't know. It does. I am looking at a picture of the theatrical release poster, and it does say it on it.
I think it was the tagline. I think it's like a live, die, repeat situation.
Oh, like right.
Where it was the tagline, then they just made it the title of the movie.
Right.
Yeah. They should call Aliens versus Predator, whoever wins, we lose.
I dig that title, man.
Yeah, it's
cool.
Pretty good
You'd
title.
be like, what is that? What is this about? And you sit down and you have no idea. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it would be great if it was just called that, and then you went to see it, and you were like, this movie's about aliens fighting predators?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be better. Okay, Ghostbusters.
Yes.
I really enjoy the opening of this movie. I remember watching it for the first time and getting very, very high hopes for the movie, and I still felt the same way. The whole sequence at the beginning with Zach Woods from Silicon Valley, I really, really enjoy, in that sort of haunted house.
Yeah, that's so funny that's what you get him from, because to me, he's always the guy from The Office.
Yeah, but I never liked him on The Office. And then he showed up on Silicon Valley, and I was like, oh, they got that fucking guy, and he's like the best part of Silicon Valley.
Or is it The Office or is it Parks and Rec?
No, it's The Office.
Okay. He might be in Parks and Rec too.
He's not in Parks and Rec.
All right. Okay, so yeah, no, I thought that sequence was promising as well.
I think it's genuinely spooky. Like when he gets locked in that basement, that's kind of a nice shot. It's kind of the best shot in the movie.
Yeah, it's a cool shot. It's a cool idea. I think in the opening, the tone is well done. I mean, it's just funny though. It doesn't. I still find in the original, they're clearly doing a nice little homage to, like a librarian sort of thing going on there with a lone person
ending with someone screaming and cutting into the logo.
Yeah, but I always felt like the beginning of the original is actually spooky, and I thought this was way more on the zany side.
I thought it was pretty spooky. It worked for me. Yeah, if the whole movie could have maintained the tone of this sequence, I think I would have liked it more than I did. It's a weird choice to make this movie. It's because it's not a remake.
Right.
And it's not a sequel, because like all the Ghostbusters except for Ramus, who's dead, are in this movie.
Right.
Even Annie Potts shows up, and they're not playing their characters. I don't know. It's odd. It would have made more sense to me if it was a belated sequel where like it was sort of a new crew of Ghostbusters picking up the mantle, and I wouldn't have even needed it to be them handing off the mantle. Like it could have just been like, remember when the city had ghost fighters?
Right.
Like
I agree.
Yeah.
It's just I gotta say it just never finds its footing for me, and I was at least happy. I'm happy to report that I honestly, as you know, I did not see this. I did not really ever know much about it. I purposely never read the plot or anything about it. So I went into it totally blind. I did have some biases going in, which were erased. Not the female thing. I thought that was a cool idea. I was worried. I thought maybe Kate McKinnon would kind of overdo it, as would Kristen Wiig and Leslie Jones, but I think all of them they're in it to win it. They're having a good time. You don't like that I said that.
I don't. There's a lot about what you're saying that I disagree with, and it's a lot of preamble to you saying that you didn't like it.
Well, no, it's a
that
lot of
you liked it more than you thought you would.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's also a preamble to my main point I wanted to make.
Okay, go ahead.
Quite a while ago, and I wrote down the note. It occurred to me that, and I thought about it today too, that the problem I think facing this movie that just had everything going against it, no matter what they did.
Tell me, mansplain this movie to me.
It's got nothing to do with.
I'm joking. Just go.
Okay.
It's a comedy podcast, so I decided to fit in a joke there.
I forgot that Hank Duchendorf.
That kid's dead. Go ahead.
All right, this one's for Janet Margolin. Okay, so the preamble essentially is the Ghostbusters we love Ghostbusters because we love the people playing them. You know, it's Bill Murray, it's Harold Ramis, and it's Dan Aykroyd. And those are Ghostbusters. So they're not characters like Batman or Superman or James Bond who can have like other people play them and it can still work if they do a good job. It's not that that Peter Venkman and Ray Stantz,
they're not inherently good characters.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter that you take the title Ghostbusters and stick it on a movie and put anyone in it. We only want to see Ghostbusters because of those characters. Because of those actors, I'm sorry. Because of those actors. And so once those actors are removed, it just feels desperate.
You know what it is? Do you know the Ultimate Comics?
No, what?
Like Ultimate Spider-Man and Ultimate X-Men?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, read them.
All they're doing is they're like retelling the story of the original comic as though that comic never came out.
Right.
And so it's like it's such a weird task to be asked to watch a Ghostbuster movie, and like you're excited to watch a Ghostbusters movie, and they're like, "Remember those Ghostbusters movies? Don't remember them."
Yeah,
it's like asking you to ignore years of movie watching.
It's
really odd. I
mean, it's just
impossible. Look, okay, so you try to sit down. I'm like trying to like get into it as just a movie because it's a movie starring Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Leslie Jones, and Kate McKinnon, four people that I really think are funny.
Sure.
And the movie, I hate it.
Say it again. The movie what?
I hate it.
You hate what?
I hate the movie. And I don't want to. It gives me no pleasure to say that. I even liked it more the first time I watched it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like I didn't care for it. Nothing.
Well, I mean, look, I liked it more than I thought I would, but I didn't like it. I mean, for me, it's 2 stars. It's not a 1 star.
No, it's 100% not a 1 star.
No, but it's nowhere near a 3. I mean, it's an absolute 2-star movie.
Can I go through the Ghostbusters really quickly?
Yeah, I just wanted, before you do it, because I want to do that with you as well, I just want to make one more point in tandem with what I was saying, and that, because I wanted your opinion. Like, you know, Bill Murray and Aykroyd and Ramis in the roles are not alone in that, right? I mean, like, there are other characters who you could never just, like, if you rebooted Beverly Hills Cop, don't we love Beverly Hills Cop because Eddie Murphy is Beverly Hills Cop?
Absolutely.
And even to a lesser extent, I mean, they tried it on TV, but, like, maybe to a lesser extent, something like Lethal Weapon. Not that we, like, love Mel Gibson.
Well, but I know what you mean. It is weird that that's a TV show now.
Yeah, and Die Hard. I mean, I don't know, and I could go on and on, but the Ghostbusters is an explicitly extreme example of such a cultural.
But I don't know if you did it where it took the first movies into account, and it was just sort of like it's 20 years later now.
You're right. Yeah.
Egon's dead. Peter Venkman's an old man, and like these 2 scientists, Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy, decide they're going to form a new Ghostbusters team. That works for me. Fine.
Yeah, you mean like, and
It's
then
like
I even
it's just because we're ignoring the original movies. I feel like we're asked to do it. It's supposed to start us off with a clean slate, but I feel like it's almost asking us to do more mental heavy lifting.
I completely agree. And I mean, if you could even have, I had, I also did not know. I knew there were going to be cameos, and I did know Bill Murray was in it. I knew Aykroyd was in it, but I didn't know when, where, or
The
who. Or
only
what.
one that works is Ernie Hudson at the end.
I agree.
They all suck. The Dan
The
Aykroyd
worst
one is
the worst one-
garbage.
well, it's real bad, but it's not. It's not the
You think
worst
Bill
one.
Murray's worse?
He's my LVP.
Bill Murray does suck in this movie. First of all, he does not want to be there.
No.
Yeah. And the special effect where he gets thrown out the window is really garbage. This movie has a lot of special effects, and I feel like Paul Feig is just not a special effects director.
No,
a
he's
lot
not.
of the effects. It's a $144 million movie, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of very, very clear green screen in this movie.
Yeah, there is. And, I guess the reason I felt bad on my part was because I really did get the impression watching this that everybody really wanted to do a good job.
Oh yeah,
With the exception of Bill Murray.
They're really trying to make it a good movie. Unfortunately, that leads to some fucking flop sweat on this thing.
Yeah, what did you think of Thor in this?
He's funny.
Yeah.
I think the character's horrible. It's
Right.
I don't get the character at all. They just wanted a dumb guy, I guess, and then so they cast like a handsome guy to play dumb. I think Chris Hemsworth has good comedic timing, so I think he's mostly good. I don't know, man. I just think that they left so much room open in this movie for improvisation, but it's such an overwritten movie with so much plot that like there's no room for it, and all there's just all these cutaways to characters saying lines that don't really connect to one another.
That's right. And you know what we were saying, which you and me have talked about off air and on air, how sometimes I find a lot of that quirky dialogue like very funny, and sometimes I find it just exhausting where everything's like a double take and like because that I made that joke because that's what that meant because he was going down the stair, that kind of thing. And it's like there's so much of that, and nothing is allowed to just kind of resonate. Like no funny lines are allowed to just kind of sit there and let us take it in. It's always like so frenetic.
And it's from the director and two of the stars of Bridesmaids. And the thing people remember about Bridesmaids was it was like the first movie that like let women. I mean, it's not, but they said the big marketing gimmick was it's the first movie that lets women do potty humor and shit.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that in this movie, and I'm no fucking prude, obviously, but I don't need this many fart jokes in a Ghostbusters movie.
I agree. I mean, and scatological humor's never been my thing, but this one is just like, it's just like, I got to tell you, man, it's exhausting. And so let's do what you asked. We should go through each Ghostbuster and see how they.
Wig and McCarthy are both trying so hard to give good performances that it like at times they forget to be funny.
Yeah. I think McCarthy's the most successful one, though.
McCarthy, I'm actually, I'm a fan of Melissa McCarthy going way back to Gilmore Girls, and I really have not loved her comic persona in a lot of movies, though I think when she hits hard. Yeah. And I think I really enjoyed that she didn't do the obvious thing in this movie.
Well, I agree.
She's not doing the Melissa McCarthy, like, hey, Melissa, do your thing.
Yeah, right. No, that's why I think I liked her the most. Yeah.
At the first time I saw this movie, the one I liked the most was McKinnon, because
that's interesting.
Because she's doing the most interesting stuff, but when I'm watching it this time, it's like she's just off to the side. Like she doesn't really have a character.
She has no
It's just sort of like in every scene, they're like, "Hey, Kate McKinnon, do something weird.
Make a funny face, kick the sky."
It doesn't work.
No.
And Leslie Jones, who I really love on Saturday Night Live, like I think she's such a bright spot on that show. She can't act.
No, well, I mean, I could have told you that. But she wasn't. I am not a big fan of hers on Saturday Night Live, as you know. We've actually argued about that.
We have.
But we have. But I didn't think she was that bad in this.
She's fine. The strength of
Right.
her is she's the only one that's sort of playing a very well-defined character.
That's
That
right.
like
I think
fits
you're
into
right.
the plot.
Yeah. And you know what was also difficult for me, and I don't know if you had this issue either, maybe you didn't, but was because of what we mentioned or what I was talking about the iconic actors playing the other one, I couldn't stop trying to figure out, well, who's she supposed to be? Is Kate McKinnon like
No,
the
but
Egon?
they didn't.
And-
but they weren't trying to do that.
But
They
I
aren't
couldn't help
analogs
myself.
for original characters.
Right. No, they totally weren't, but I couldn't help doing it because it was like, oh, I guess Melissa McCarthy's Ray Stantz. That makes
I
sense.
mean, she is kind of racist.
Right. But
Yeah.
then it was just really hard to not do that. I couldn't shut it off. I was just like, this, and yet Leslie Jones being the, token black female, she's way more written than Winston Zeddemore ever was.
Well, yeah, they did a good job by that. Although, again, they've got 4 Ghostbusters, 3 of whom are scientists, and 1 of whom is the black one.
Of course.
What's going on there?
And she works in a subway.
Right. Yeah, she's an MTA worker.
Right. Of course.
I don't know. And so much of the comedy relies on special effects. The scene where they're like trying out weapons in the alleyway,
Very weird.
it goes on for fucking ever. First of all, this
Goes on
movie
forever. Why are they in an
is
alleyway?
4 minutes short of 2 hours.
It's long.
And they just keep going. It's an alleyway just next to where they work.
It's really stupid, the setting. And then it's poorly set up with the firehouse. Like, you could totally
What
tell
firehouse?
the classic firehouse that they want to move into. But
Oh,
they can't
right. They
afford it.
don't get it until the very end.
Exactly. And because, unfortunately, unlike the first movie, which was just made for itself initially, this was set up to be a big
franchise.
deal. And so we're getting all this build up and all this other stuff, and it's like, that was pointless. So we spent
There's
the entire
so
movie
much
being
of
in a
that,
top
man.
floor of a Chinese restaurant for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Honestly,
No,
I
it's
only
fine.
laughed
It's
twice. And
I
one,
laughed a few times. I'm not gonna lie, I did.
I laughed once at the Chinese delivery guy.
Benny.
He was funny to me.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I laughed a couple times at his interactions with Melissa McCarthy. And I also laughed at Chris Hemsworth saying that his dog's name is My Cat.
That was funny.
That made me laugh
That was
pretty
very
hard.
funny.
Yeah.
Well, the job interview was funny. The job interview was funny.
Although, I don't know, man. In 2016, all this shit with like, Kristen Wiig ogling the fuck out. Yeah, I mean, it's like just because it's like a man and a woman, like reversed, I don't think it makes it much funnier or less uncomfortable.
Yeah. So why do you not? What do you mean by that?
I just mean that, like, it's a case of, like, if this was a joke about, like, a hot lady being hired for her looks and, like, the dudes around the office ogling her, it would super not be funny now. Okay? You could do that in the 80s. You can't do that now.
That's right.
And so, like, to me, having it be like this, like, big buff Chris Hemsworth guy and the ladies, like, all wanting to fuck him, it's not that much funnier. It's, like, a little better, but not that much.
Well, yeah, but it's not. It doesn't feel it's not sexist. I mean, you're not saying that, right? I mean, it's kind of the.
It's not sexist
No,
necessarily. It's just uncomfortable.
That's very interesting. I mean, because I'm not even on the page if it's a double standard on this one. I'm not. I mean, I don't think I feel fine with it. Like I don't care. I mean, because I know you're not offended by it. You just think
No, I'm not offended. I just
course
think
not.
it's odd that in a
That's what they
movie
choose to
that
do.
is like preaching, female empowerment and this like
I see what you're saying. Then they revert back to kind of male behavior.
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
it
that's a
shouldn't
good point.
be women just as shitty as men. It
Yeah,
should be
it
women
almost-
fucking better than men by a lot.
Yeah, it almost would have been better to have them like go in front of like a board and try to get money from some uppity male executive and just fucking tear them to shreds. Like that would be way more satisfying. Like and make it comedic. You know what I mean? And like take down.
I just
like,
wish
a
it was.
gender role
I
that way.
just wish it was funnier.
Yeah.
The plot kind of never works for me. I don't. This movie does have a fucking villain, and he does not work for me. I think the performance is fine, but
Yeah, no,
that's-
you're right.
and
It's really weak.
yeah, but
And then they
it's
get Chris
also
Hemsworth to
super
be-
overwritten, Henry. And
yeah.
I think like the last act of this movie really falls in a fucking pit. No pun intended. And
Yeah, it does.
there's all this green screen, and there are just buildings exploding. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man comes back. It's so weirdly beholden to the original movies while trying to set out on its own path and failing. And it's like the end of the movie. It's like 29/11s.
Yeah, it is. It is apocalyptically cataclysmic.
During the final sequence of this movie, 100,000 New Yorkers are killed. You can't tell me otherwise. It's like the end of fucking Man of Steel.
We're right. Where like two guys are fighting, but the whole city pays for it. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That rock sequence is terrible.
Oh my god, that
that
band
a fucking
was,
real band?
I don't think so. No, because I saw
Good.
Eugene Cordero on bass, and he's a comedian.
Okay, good. All right. I was worried that was like a real band they thought was good, and they
No,
put
it's
in the
a
movie.
fake band. And then Ozzy Osbourne has a cameo because I
Terrible.
guess it's the year 2002.
Yeah.
I mean, what was that? It was a fucking
don't
Osbourne's
know, man.
callback. He says Sharon.
Somebody's got to just not let Ozzy do stuff like that. He doesn't know where he is or what he's doing anymore. Pull him aside, get the hook. I don't
Henry,
know.
did you like the new Ghostbusters theme song?
Which one?
The one that plays like halfway through the movie when they get in the
There were a
ectomobile?
lot. Oh, dude, there was a lot.
But the
of
one
those.
that's just a cover of the original Ghostbusters theme song.
Was that like with the women singing it?
No.
Who? I don't
It's
know.
the great band Fall Out Boy. And
Oh,
they do sort of like an emo-fied version of the Ghostbusters theme. And then Missy
God.
Elliott pops in for a verse.
I like Missy Elliott. But
Yeah, I know, but it
Jesus.
sucked.
Oh God, it was execrable.
Here's
Oh.
another problem I have with this movie, Henry. And usually this shit doesn't annoy me that much, but the product placement in this film was repulsive.
Well, you usually bring that up. I never really catch that stuff. or
What are
pay
you
attention.
talking about? The first time
Actually, you brought it up in Man of Steel, which was one of the only lighter moments of that episode. Continue.
the first time they see a ghost, this should be a monumental moment. The way it is in fucking the original Ghostbusters.
That's right.
Just
Okay.
Kate
What?
McKinnon chowing down on Pringles
Oh,
and having
yeah,
dialogue
make a
about
comment
it.
on it. Yeah. Oh boy, you're right. Yeah.
There's
Nice.
some Papa John's later in the movie. They're just eating Papa John's.
I don't know, man. It's just it's interesting. We haven't encountered this too much. I mean, I feel like when something like this as a remake comes out, it's either a well-intentioned, unmitigated disaster that we fucking hate because it's just so off. This is an unusual one, I feel like we both want to pull for it, but we just cannot do that.
It's a
not
movie
good.
that I almost wanted it to do well because I would like to see the sequel.
Right. Maybe iron out some of this.
Yeah, iron out the kinks because there's definitely a movie in here.
I agree.
But it's just a fucking misfire, man.
But it did do this to me, and this is, I don't know, I don't really care, but to me it's, I guess it's unfortunate. But to me, it was not one of the movies like, I hate to keep bringing up like superhero movies, but they just pop into my head like that, when they redo them over and over. It's not a movie where you're just like, oh, well, they should do it again and they'll get it right next time. Like, this one actually made me think, don't touch it. Just leave it alone.
Just because it just didn't work.
It just didn't work, and it was so long coming. I mean, I just don't. It's not. I just feel it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. You can keep redoing.
But you don't think like a director, like if this movie was directed by a guy who knows how to direct action, you don't think that might work? Like if the Russo brothers, who also are known for directing episodes of Arrested Development and then went on to direct Captain America Civil War and shit.
Right.
And Avengers Infinity War. You don't think like they could have done something with this cast?
I just don't know. I mean,
or Taika Waititi or something.
Maybe him. I just don't know if the material is redoable. I don't know if it's reimaginable. If you want to come up with a similar idea about people who believe in the paranormal and want to solve crimes, but I mean,
just like a tighter movie with a better script. This movie, it's just repetitive. It's over and over again. Something wacky happening, and then you cut away to two people, and one of them's making a face, and one of them's ad-libbing a comment. It's just that over and over again for the whole movie.
I think the movie would just be better off not calling itself Ghostbusters, is what I was trying to say.
Well, I feel that way about almost anything, man. Because we talked about this when we did Ocean's 8. I think Ocean's 8 is Ocean's 8's a better movie than this, by the way.
Yes.
Ocean's 8 is a perfectly good heist movie that is just saddled with the expectations of the Ocean's name.
Yeah, and true, right.
Yeah, I mean,
but to a much lesser extent, because Ocean's 11, as great as it is
not Ghostbusters.
No,
I know what you mean. I just think, like,
and it ties into those movies with relations.
I just think when Paul Feig did Bridesmaids, the reaction people had to Bridesmaids was so huge because they're watching something new, and it's funny women doing funny shit in a new thing. I don't think having the same women just doing the same shit over a Ghostbusters movie means as much.
I totally agree.
Wouldn't it be so cool if like this exact cast like made a comedy action movie with like a new concept?
100%. 100%, man. The movie ultimately, I mean, one of the notes I made, unfortunately, but it was the main thing that came into my head, was it's just pointless.
Forget it. There shouldn't have been a Ghostbusters 2. What are we doing?
It's a pointless endeavor. I mean, it's just a pointless endeavor, and I whatever.
It's a disappointment, I think, and I'll probably never watch it again. I just can't see myself. I watched it twice, and I'm not into it. I'm just not into it. And and whatever, man. I'm sorry. I still root for Paul Feig. I still root for I like everyone involved in this movie.
Root for everybody in the movie.
Katie Dippold is fucking talented. I did not. I mean, she followed this up with Snatched, which also tanked, so her career might be on pretty shaky ground right now. Paul Feig's, a talented guy. I don't think he could direct, action, even a lick of it. But
it's funny, though. Do you think that comedy writers have a harder game to deal with than action or drama directors? Actually, I should say directors, not writers. In terms of continuously having to pop out hits, because like action guys and drama guys seem to be able to get away with a couple of flops and then still come back strong. We've covered them over and over.
But then do what Judd Apatow does, where he waits 4 or 5 years between movies.
Well, that's my question.
And Paul Feig has the power to produce other people's movies. Like Paul Feig gave this big chance to Katie Dippold, and that's really admirable. But I mean,
But don't you think they're held to a higher standard? Like, oh, well, your last comedy wasn't funny. You're fucking done.
But I don't think that's necessarily true. I think comedy. No, sure I don't. But I think that if your movie is Ghostbusters, then the stakes are higher.
Right. Yeah. Well, you're right, because more people are paying attention to you. You're in the spotlight big time, and you're one of the biggest movies ever made.
I mean,
So,
Paul Feig's latest movie is A Simple Favor.
Right.
If that movie tanked, no one would even notice it. And I think it made money because the budget was low.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, well.
All right. What do you give it a 2?
It's a 2. It's a clear. It was very easy.
Who's your MVP?
Melissa McCarthy.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
She annoyed me so much in some of those like physical comedy scenes, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. She's pretty good. She's one of the better ones.
That's what I thought.
In the movie. She
Give
handled
it to
herself
Sigourney
well.
Weaver.
No, she sucked. The cameos sucked.
Yeah. Ernie Hudson's wasn't bad.
No, Ernie Hudson.
By
was
that
fine.
point, it's over. So.
Yeah, this is the very end of the movie. Hey, what'd you think of the sequel setup in the credits? Did you stick around?
Yeah, I stuck around because I read there was something. Yeah.
They set up Vigo. No, they set up
Zool.
Zool to come back in the sequel. And
Right,
I guess we'll
right.
never see what they planned on doing with him.
Well, we can if we want to watch the original.
Sure. What'd you think of Lady Slimer?
Oh God. I mean, you know.
I get what they're doing, but it's
So
like
do I.
it's not like Slimer's an inherently male creation. and to me, like it's not like he's got like this big dick energy where it's like, you know, it'd be cool if like next to him we put a Slimer with lipstick.
Yeah, it was like Kermit and Miss Piggy or something.
It was
man.
really odd.
It was really dumb. There was a lot I think got from the cartoon because I was thinking about like even Kate McKinnon's like hairstyle looked a lot like Egon from the cartoon. Remember they made him blonde, as I recall.
I noticed that too. And she's wearing like round glasses like
Right.
he had in that cartoon.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right. Well.
I'll go with McCarthy too. Fine.
All right. And my LVP is Bill Murray.
Sure, I mean that's an interesting choice. I'll go with Aykroyd again. I hate that I gave him 2 LVPs. Last week I talked about how awesome he is.
Well, Bill Murray got both mine for both the other, and now he's the L.
All right, yeah, I like it.
All right, I got a quick superhero count here.
I'd love to hear it.
I know.
Hey, rank the Ghostbusters movies.
Rank the Ghostbusters?
Yeah, are you gonna go 1, 2, 3?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, that's your ranking.
And going into rewatching 3, I was like, I think my hot take is gonna be 1,
Right.
3, 2. But nah, the second one's better.
Of course it is.
Yeah. All right, go ahead.
All right. The guy who played Benny, played by an actor named Karan Soni,
Yes, a very fine improviser.
was in Deadpool.
Oh.
And the second one, playing a Dupinder. I don't remember that character.
I don't know, but good for
talk
him.
about an exhausting, yeah. Ed Begley Jr.
That's right. He showed up in this.
That's right. He was in Batman Forever.
Really?
Playing
Who
a
could
character
remember?
I don't know, man. Playing a character named Fred Stickley.
He'd be good as Poison Ivy. He's got kind of the same motivations as that
Couldn't
character.
have hurt that follow up.
Yeah.
Batman the Animated Series. He played a character named Germs.
Sure.
Yeah.
Germs.
Batman Beyond. He played Dr. Corso. And in
All
the live action Wonder Woman of Linda Carter, again, he played a character named Harold Farnham.
Last name.
That's right. And 3 more, but these are interesting.
What?
Michael K. Williams.
Oh,
Come
okay.
up-
I thought
come
you
up
meant 3
before.
more Ed Begley Jr.
No. I was
Sure, Michael K. Williams from, of course, The Purge. Which one? Anarchy?
I don't remember.
Yeah. Henry, the Purge finale this week. Did you watch it?
I thought it was one of the best finales in recent memory.
Come on, it was not one of the better episodes of the show.
Well, episode 46 was better. But
Henry,
I thought
what? I sat through that shit for 10 hours. You gotta watch the Purge TV show.
No,
We're doing an episode about it.
Right. No, it's coming up. It's
I
coming up.
fucking hate you.
It's coming up.
All right, go ahead.
Michael K. Williams was a bystander in the great Marvel movie, I believe number 3 or 4 on my list of Marvel films, which I still have that list, by the way. The Incredible Hulk.
Oh yeah.
I think that was like number 28 on your list.
It's good. They're all good. Go ahead.
All right.
Hey,
And
the end of the Ghostbusters movie, the Lady Ghostbusters movie, reminded me a lot of the end of Avengers, with her jumping in that hole. You know what I mean? It reminded me of Iron Man going through that hole in the sky.
vortex.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. There you go.
Anyway, go ahead.
Chris Hemsworth, obviously Thor.
Oh yeah.
And this one was the coolest one. And I feel like I'd heard this, but I did not remember. Kristen Wiig. Do you know what she will
Oh
be
yes,
in?
I do. She is going to be the main villain in the new Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah, Wonder Woman 1984. She's playing Cheetah.
Sure, Cheetah.
Interesting.
What a great rogues gallery Wonder Woman has. It's movie
Boy,
2. We're
Batman
already at
just has a
Cheetah.
monopoly on that one. Oof.
Yeah, and it's Batman in the DC universe and Spider-Man in the Marvel universe.
Yeah. Well, Daredevil's got some goodies too, don't he?
Who? When you get past the Kingpin, who's Daredevil of?
Bullseye.
Oh, that's true. Who? Yeah, and Typhoid Mary. You're right. The owl, Stilt Man.
Well, I like the owl.
Well, you like the owl because Brian Michael Bendis made the owl cool after
There
he
you
was
go.
a shitty character for like
all
30
right.
years.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mm.
Anyway.
All right, that's it.
All right. Next week
Got
we're
some-
covering Analyze This and Analyze That. Right? Can we? The whole 9 yards and the whole 10 yards. I want to do some of these shitty movies that don't need sequels.
Oh, all right. That's not what was planned, but
All right, no,
that-
we're
it would mean I wouldn't have to go to the theater. So
no,
that'd be
we
fun.
do. We gotta go to the theater. We're doing the Beasts, all the Beasts,
We
and
are
where to
sort of
find
turning
them.
right back to Harry Potter. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we're-
haven't seen it either. Obviously,
We're
the first one I
spinning
never
on
saw.
back to Harry Potter. Fantastic Beasts and where to find them, and Fantastic Beasts. We're not and where to find them. We're taking that out of the title because the title would be way too long. Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So we'll
Hey
be
man,
loving
did you
that.
see the first one?
I saw it on a weird date. We could talk more about it next week. So I did see it, but I'm looking forward to a fuller experience.
I'm looking forward to it because of my, one of the revelatory things on this show has been my love for the Harry Potter series.
Yeah, and you like David Yates.
That's right. Oh, he did it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
And-
David Yates directed both these, and J.K. Rowling herself wrote these movies.
Whoa,
Yeah, how
and then
about
we'll
that?
get to talk about our theater experiences. That'll be exciting.
Yeah, so
as
look forward
always.
to that.